So WWDC 2025 was just a couple of hours ago and there was a lot within the event. Also, there was things that we were expecting, and I don't know about you guys, but I personally was expecting some of the things. Anyway, so what today's video is mainly going to be is a recap of what happened throughout WWDC 2025. And this is your boy Jay on JayTech. Okay, so we're going to kickstart off with iOS. First thing is that it's had a complete naming change. In fact, all of the operating systems have had a complete name change, moving from iOS 18 to iOS 26. This just means more of a easier way to understand what operating system you're on, instead of you thinking like you're on a 2018 operating system or something like that. The way that the dating scheme will work is it will work from September 2025 to September 2026, as that is when these will be released. Now, moving on to the design of iOS 26, it's had a complete overhaul, with it having a VisionOS lookalike and having a all glass texture. The way that Apple calls this is it's called liquid glass. All of the edges have been rounded off to make it look way more better and way more seamless. Also, there are some new themes and customizations that will also be added. For example, a clear logo mode as well on all of your app icons. Now, nothing has literally changed in the way that things are put or placed. That means that everything will still be familiar to how you already know it to be. Also, I should state that Apple has changed majority of their app icons and have made them look a little bit more better and a little bit more seamless, and also it looks a lot more upgraded, I should use, because I think upgrade is the better word to use, but everything has a more 3D and outstanding look to it. It might take some more time just familiarizing yourself with the way that the icons are, but it's very simple. Okay, moving on to some things to do with the iMessage app. Now, I'm going to put it this way. Apple is trying to take WhatsApp status and try and make it look more like WhatsApp, with having a all new background setting, which means that you could change the background of how the text would look. This will be on group chats or on regular messages as well. Now, you'll be able to not only choose stuff that is pre-created from Apple themselves, but you'll also have things like, for example, live pictures that you've taken yourself, or you could use the AI generator from Apple themselves to make amazing and stunning backgrounds. Also, they've added the ability to now have live translation with inside of the message app. This means way more better communication between your friends that don't speak English or don't speak the same language as you. Now, before we move on to the rest of the features of iOS, a few things that they have brought out, which they already brought out already, but they've now made it more powerful and more blunt in your face now, with the new screening tools that have now been added and implemented within the iPhone. This just technically means instead of having it as the scammer one that we had on voicemail, this will now actually answer your calls in the background before you even pick up the phone, and it will ask that person on the other side what their name is and what they're calling for. If it sounds reasonable and it's not a scam, then Apple will call you back on that same number and tell you, hey, pick up the phone. This is someone that's very important. Now, this hopefully, from correction, happened on contacts that have already been added or selected already. But if it has a random phone number, for example, then it will call that phone number to ask it beforehand. Then it will go through its process of asking it questions. Now, again, this is a same way as how they done with the voicemail one, just this time it's instead of it having it on a voicemail or for scammers only. This is to eliminate distractions from whatever you're doing, and this just makes it way more better. Actually, some more things that we got inside the message app was a new ununified message layout, which means that you will now have less clutter on your messages app, and this will also be on the phones app as well. Now, you will have the option of switching back to the old one if you wish, but me personally, I've already used the operating system and the new one actually looks pretty nice, and I actually quite like it. So obviously it's up to your choice if you want to use it, but it's more ununified, better, and also less clutter on the actual displays. Also, more things that I guess I should say about the phone app. Man, it feels like we're spending a load of time on phone, but trust me, there's some other things I want to get onto. But with the phone one, there is also a now hold assistant as well, which just technically means that it will automatically detect when you're on hold on a phone call. For example, it will detect when background music is being played. Then it will prompt you if you would like to keep your phone on hold. This just technically means that you'll be able to use your phone or put it onto the side until someone gets back to you, for example, a live agent. They will get back to you, then Apple will call you back on that number, and then you'll pick up your phone from there. Okay, moving away from messages and phone, because there's more features, but we're going to do that in a separate video. But what I can say is that we've had some new Apple Intelligence features. Now, this is not the new Siri, but this is more of just some light things that they've just added and implemented within the visual side of things. So now you'll be able to take a screenshot of whatever you want and then ask that screenshot questions. This will be the same command that you use to take a screenshot on your iPhone, so just keep that in mind. And also it's very simple to do, and you can ask it so many different questions, and if it has to go to ChatGPT, it will go to it without no problem. Again, there are so many different features. For example, Apple Music is now integrated more seamlessly with the iPhone now, meaning that any sort of artwork that has now been displayed can have now a full-on live wallpaper whilst listening to the music on your iPhone. Okay, moving over to macOS. This is macOS 26, also known as Tahoe. First thing I should say is it will have that same design. Again, that is liquid glass all around the operating system with some new logos that have been implemented. Me personally, I like these new logos and icons that's been implemented on the macOS version. It's more sleek, more better, and also it just makes the MacBook look like it's a completely different MacBook. Some more things that they've added is the new Spotlight function. Yes, Spotlight has now become even more smarter with knowing how to do different things. For example, it can now do actions, and also you can set up now commands, for example, a short wording or like short two letters to get a action on call. This just means that it has better integration with all of your things inside of your Mac now. This includes all your photos, files, and also if you use Pages, Notes, or whatever the case is. Also, the API is bringing out for other developers to do some sort of API stuff in the background so their apps work with the new Spotlight. But let me just tell you, the new Spotlight is absolutely amazing. Also, there will now be a new Phones app that will be on macOS as well. This means that you don't have to get yourself off your Mac to actually answer a phone call. You can answer it straight from your MacBook. Again, some more things that have come out, which I didn't talk about on iOS, but I'm going to talk about it in general now, is the new Games app has also been integrated on macOS, and I feel it's more important to speak about it on macOS as macOS is now starting to get some new games. I can say that the new Games app technically is what we kind of like expected. It's where you could have a whole entire hub for your games separate to your launcher, and this is where you can launch your games from. Also, there'll be leadership boards and so much other bits and pieces. Again, we'll do a more in-depth review on macOS Tahoe or macOS 26 later on next week. Now, moving to one of the biggest ones that I think is important for a lot of people, and including me, because I'm very excited for this one, and this is iPadOS 26. Now, I'm excited for this one because I've been a Mac user for the past like 4 to 5 years now, but I would say that I do occasionally like to use an iPad, and I do like to have something smaller to take with me. Now, with the new iPadOS 26, it looks more like macOS now, which is what we all wanted for the iPad, as Apple keeps on stating that the iPad is supposed to be the next level of computers. Let's kickstart off with the filing system. The first thing I should say is that the filing system has all now been changed, with having some more customizable options. For example, seeing more metadata and also being able to customize your files, same like what you're able to do in macOS 26. Also, a new app that has been added is a new Previews app, which we did have something similar to that on iPadOS, but now we have a full-on dedicated app for previews on iPadOS. Also, you'll be able to put a file or a folder into the dock on iPadOS as well, which again makes it more like macOS, just on a smaller scale. Now, one of the biggest features for iPadOS is the new multitasking feature, which has been added already to iPadOS, but it was kind of like a bit weird and a bit fiddly to use. And in my personal opinion, I just didn't use multitasking in general, and so I found that they were going to make a better one, and they have done that this year. They have made the multitasking way more easier, so you'll have the regular app as per usual, but then on the right hand corner, you have a little notch that you could swipe and adjust the way that the screen looks. You can now add multiple different apps, and they will be moved all over the place. You can customize where they could go. And also, something that has been added to iPadOS is the new 3 dots up on the top. Yes, that is right. We've got macOS 3 dots up on the top, which is the traffic light signal, as that's what I like to call it, which is the full screen, minimize, and exit. Also, some more features which I didn't speak about in iOS, which also relate back to iPadOS, is that Safari has had a complete overhaul and change with the design layout. You'll now be able to see even more of the web page, with now having a more minimalistic style of web layout, with having the web URL just showing and that is it when you start scrolling means that you get more real estate on the web page. There are also some new audio recording features as well, and one of those are very important. For example, having the option to record two different audios without one of those audios stopping, which makes it way more seamless for you to make audio recordings on an iPad. Now moving over to WatchOS, which I use my Apple Watch every single day, and it's very important especially for health reasons as well. And there's been quite a lot of changes that has happened within the WatchOS version this year, and one of the main ones that was very interesting to me, which is the workout body. This is where you'll use the Apple Intelligence. You'll be able to have voices that talk to you whilst you're doing your workouts. So for example, if you've made a massive achievement during your workout, it'll tell you in a workout voice that, hey, you made this achievement whilst doing this run, or whatever the case may be. There is so much things that you could do with this workout body. Technically, it's like a companion on the side of you whilst you're working out or whilst you're training. This currently works right now on the main workouts, which is, for example, running and walking, but it works with just a couple at this present moment. More will be added later on down the line. A new feature that has been added, if you can remember the double tap feature that was brought out on WatchOS, there is now a new wrist flick motion that you could do to silence or mute your notifications until you get a chance to have a look at them. Also, there are some other features. Again, I'm going to put that into a separate video for you to have a look at an in-depth review of the WatchOS 26 later on next week. Also, before we move on to the last operating system, the WatchOS and all the other operating systems, including the next one I'm about to say, will have the glass texture. So if I haven't said glass texture, it's because it's already in all of them, so just keep that in mind. And there's also a new smart stats function that works deeper and integrates deeper with your health inside of the Apple Watch. Now let's move on to the next operating system. The last one is VisionOS. Now this is for the people that actually have a Vision Pro, or I guess you'll be able to try this in an Apple store as well when it comes out. But besides from that, this operating system takes VisionOS onto a different level with VisionOS 26. Kickstarting off with the new widgets function. Now this is a very interesting UI that I personally like, and when I was watching the event I was like, oh wow, that's very different to what Apple is known for. But you can now have widgets all over the place. So for example, you could have your widgets on a wall and you could customize it. And when I mean customize it, I mean very heavily customize it with having 3D animations, 3D borders, and so much layout. Also, there is a new flat design for some of the widgets as well. For example, it will be shown on the clock and other places, but there is full customization within the widgets mode, and you can place widgets anywhere you want and they will store wherever you had them if you go back to that location. Also, Safari gets some sort of new updates on VisionOS. For example, you'll now be able to have 3D models, and that can now be extracted from Safari and brought into your real life home. So you can visualize what that product would look like before you go ahead and buy it. Similar to the function that they have on the iPhone, where you could take that specific product and put it into your house by using the camera. There are also some new controllers that will be coming out with this as well. Yes, I said controllers, and that is mainly for the work side of things. For example, there will now be a new Logitech pen that will come out for the Vision Pro, which allows you to make accurate drawings with the pen and be able to share it across to other people. PlayStation is also bringing across the VR2 Sense controllers over to Vision Pro, so you can play some games with a high quality controller. And just a couple more features that come out with VisionOS 26 is you can now connect multiple Vision Pros so you could share your content seamlessly, and so much other features has been added. Now this WWDC has been a heck of a lot of features and so much things that Apple has done. Bear in mind, this is Apple's very first event of the season, so expect there to be a whole bunch of wild products. For example, we are still supposed to be getting the iPhone 17 coming out later in this year, and so much other things. What I'm going to do is I'm going to say that you can download all of the operating systems right now, but I wouldn't recommend it. I would actually recommend you waiting until the second beta comes out, or until public beta comes out. That is due to every single first build of any sort of operating system will not be as stable, and obviously I don't want you guys to blame me for your phone not being stable. Also, if you are going to actually install it, make sure you install it onto a secondary device and not your primary devices, and also back up your phone, iPad, whatever you're using the operating system on, just just back it up. For the love of God, just back it up so then you have no problem. For everyone else, and also people that also have the operating system, there will be a video that will come out later on next week. Hopefully earliest will be by Monday, going on for the remaining of the week. So Monday through Friday, all of the operating systems will be out on the channel with an in-depth review of each operating system, and we'll take you through a deeper dive for what each one has compared to their older operating systems. Now this is actually going to be a very interesting video type, and hopefully you guys actually love them. And also, hopefully you guys are enjoying the JayTech channel as well, because man, I put a load of effort in this. So the best that you can do is subscribe and like and comment down below what you find interesting about today's video. But I will say that is it for today's video. Again, WWDC 2025 has only just started. We have a whole bunch of other events that people could join, and I'll leave the links in the description for you to go to the WWDC 2025 webpage so you can join some of the events if you wish to. Anyway, this has been your boy Jay on JayTech. Hoping that you guys enjoy this video, and as always, this has been your boy Jay on JayTech. Peace.
DWK on the track.